Hi, I'm Oscar,
And I'm Talia.
and
Together we're Oz and Tally.
and
And
what
this
else
is
is
the
the Relationships
Relationships
podcast.
podcast.
And for the next 90 minutes, we're going to be your guides through all the highs, the lows, the twists and the turns of relationships, ours and yours. So let's just dive straight into the relationship of the week. It's been a long week.
It has.
It's been a very, 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 very long week.
Yeah.
Just feel like the days have merged into one. It's been I can't even think about what's happened over the last 3 days, let alone across the last 2 weeks.
It's been mental. It's been a tough week.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's been a rough week. It's been a tough week.
Yeah, I feel like we've done, well, all things considered, I feel like we've done a really good job.
We've smashed it, and I think this week has been a true test of our relationship and how solid we are as a team. Because no matter how much stress and exhaustion both of us have experienced this week, I don't feel like either of us have taken it out on each other for once, which is weird because we usually do at lower levels of stress and exhaustion. We've more just supported each other through it, and just because we're both equally stressed and exhausted.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. I'm genuinely trying to think about what's happened this past week. Do you have a relationship ready to go?
I do.
Okay.
I had one the other day that I thought of, and then it went away, to be honest. But for me, my relationship this week, is vehicles. I've had a hard week in terms of cars.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a really hard week in terms of cars, and just to put things into perspective, my car went in for its MOT and service 2 weeks ago. It failed. It needed work. They fleeced us out of a bunch of money. It's all well and good. So then I was borrowing Oscar's little car, and I think my real frustration with the day that everything happened, which happened to be yesterday, was just the frustration of that it was happening to me and not you, and it's your car.
That's so funny.
Because for anyone who knows Oscar, he has held on to this little Renault Clio for, the last 6 years.
Longer than our relationship.
Longer than our, only just, but longer than our relationship. And
but remember
the Clio itself,
yeah,
so true. The Clio itself was made in 2008, so she's very much an old girly at this point anyway. I have been saying a long time that, not necessarily that we should get rid of the car, but I want Oscar to have a nice car. I want him to have a car that he's, not that he's happy driving, because he's really happy driving the Clio, but I want him to have a car that that feels nice. That's it's nice to have a nice car, right? I get it. And I feel bad that I've got a newer car than him. But the main reason that I don't really love Oscar's car that much is because she's brilliant, she's great, but there have been a lot of things that have gone wrong with her, to be fair. She has had a lot of little things. Not that it's not necessarily any more than another car would have, but there's always something. It's either a slow puncture, or it's the battery's flat, or I actually will just think
that's me just not taking very good care of her.
Well, maybe that's it. But anyways, yesterday I'm on the motorway driving out to a very important meeting with work with my colleague in the car, and the accelerator cable just snapped. And I knew it was the accelerator cable because it literally happened 6 years ago on one of our first dates ever to Oscar on the motorway at the same time as well.
Yeah.
And the long and short of it is everything was fine. We were safe. We got rescued. Everything's all right. But the car was irreparable, essentially, to the garage that we took it to, because the part is no longer made, at least not by the manufacturers that garage use. And so it just created this extra layer of frustration for me, because then I spent my whole day trying to sort out Oscar's car after I'm already knee deep trying to sort out my car. And it just felt like a really frustrating day. Not anything to do with your fault, because you were in meetings, and also you offered to do things. There's nothing that you could have done. I was the one that was there when it happened. There's no point Oscar coming out to be with the car when I was already, you know what I mean? There was so many reasons why it had to be me, and I get that, but it was just so infuriating to me, because I am a girly pop princess, and I was raised with a really wonderful dad who knows a lot about cars. And other things, but cars especially. And so I never had to worry about car things growing up. And all of the feminine, independent women out there are going to hate me for this, for giving into that. But I don't care. I'm not interested in cars. I couldn't care less about cars. I could learn about them if I wanted to. I don't care. So It was really annoying to me to be the one that was like sorting out all the car stuff, because like that's always been something that you do in our relationship, and previously to our relationship it's always something that my dad did.
I never necessarily had to be that hands-on with the cars. I've always just I do all the insurance, I do the road tax, I do the MOTs. Like anytime that the cars need work, I'm the one who drives around for it.
Exactly. And so that was my relationship this week. It was so infuriating. It was such a long day of frustration. And to be fair to you, you were so supportive throughout the whole thing, and like, you know, you were exactly what I needed throughout the whole day. And this is what I mean, like, it's been a lovely testament to how strong our relationship is, because at no point have I like, well, I don't think I've like snapped at you and been like, it's your fault, anything like that. No, I've always obviously it's been frustrating, and there have been things that I'm like, oh, I just wish that like we did have a new car, or that, you know, there's obviously frustrations, but again, this is something that could happen to any car at any point. It's not like exclusively your car. Obviously, I have certain levels of trauma surrounding your car because it's happened a couple of times with me in your car. So it kind of gets to a place where you're like, kind of not.
Well, what's amazing is like it's happened. Like the times it's happened have always been with you. Like,
I know.
I've never broken down on my own.
No, like, exactly.
She's
and that's why I have that level. Like that's why I have that feeling towards the car. I love her and I respect her, and she drove us all around Europe, and I love her to pieces.
And like, there's been 2 Christmases where she stepped up when your BMAX,
when my BMAX didn't. I know, and I do, like, you know, I have so much respect for the car. It doesn't mean I feel safe in it. It doesn't mean I love driving.
No, and that's valid.
I'm also very much out of my manual era. I'm an automatic girly, and it's hard to go back. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No, 100%.
But yeah, that was my relationship this week.
Thank you.
Not really anything to do with you or me, but
no, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Anyway, that was nice to hear. I actually think I've got 2 relationships this week.
Oh.
One of them is targeted at us, and one of them is actually targeted at you.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to do my first target.
Oh wow.
My first attack.
My issue is I forget things like the second after they've happened.
So we were on our way to rehearsals, and I tried to do a nice thing for you.
Yes.
And when I say a nice thing, I filled up Talia's bottle, and she has this like big like Stanley style cup. I filled up with water, and we're in the car, and Talia basically just complained that the cup
I didn't complain, but I pointed out that he didn't rinse all of the dust off of the straw, which, like, in your defense, that cup was sat right by the sink, and you didn't know if it had been cleaned or not.
I assumed it was by the sink because like you just finished with it and it needed filling up, and you're like, I'll do it later. And I was just like, ideal. Talia's going to need water, so I'll fill it up. And then we're just in the car, and she was like, oh, you didn't clean it. I was like,
I didn't say you didn't clean it. I said, did you clean it? It was a question, not a statement.
No. And then I said no, and you're like, oh. I was like, fantastic. Okay, I'm just gonna.
I know. I shouldn't have led with that.
No, and it makes so much sense. Like you knew that it wasn't clean, and then the second you were given it, you were like, oh, this just isn't. This effectively isn't usable. And it was. I can understand why it was so frustrating. But in the same instant, I did a nice thing. And in that moment, there was no acknowledgement, or there was appreciation afterwards.
You had taken me into consideration, and I didn't acknowledge
that. And there were, I can't remember any of the ones before that, but there'd been a few instances of me just doing nice little things, and instantly the things that I'd done wrong being picked on.
Yeah, which is something that used to happen a lot more in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working full time, and you were studying. And you would be at home all day. Do you remember, like, chores related? And you'd spent the whole day, for example, cleaning the kitchen, but the hallway was an absolute tip because you just leave your shoes in the middle of the hallway, so that I tripped over when I got home. The first thing I said to you, instead of like,
I might have even hoovered everything. But it's just
because you left your shoes in the middle of the hallway, and the first thing I did was trip over. The first thing I'd say to you was like, oh, like, why did you leave your shoes there? And not acknowledge the good things first, like the shit sandwich. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's something I've actively worked on. And the second you acknowledge that and like called me out on it in the car, like I did turn around straight away and was like, no, you're so right. Like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It was because I was really thirsty in that moment. I was really disappointed I couldn't just drink.
What?
Thank you so much, my lord.
So that's relationship number 1. Numero uno. So numero dos. Number 2 is targeted at us. And
I thought that was the us one.
No,
I was like, it get worse.
No, that was the you one. That was
fine. That was me. I did that.
The relationship number 2 was at rehearsals on Sunday. and basically
that's a good one.
So it was a long day. It was a long day of rehearsals for us. It was like 12:30 till 6, and it was my first time having a long rehearsal with this company. Tally's been with this company before. She's done a show with them before. And also, that day apparently I wasn't very good at listening.
I was gonna say that's not why I knew that. It's because I actually listened.
But that's what I wanted to make sure I did that. I just entirely missed this, and so we got to about 2:00, and we'd just finished singing, and we got given a 10-minute break, and I was like, amazing. I don't know if we're going to get a proper lunch break, so what I did was I ran down to the Subway. And I got us like a chicken tikka salad, and I tried to make sure that I got things that I thought Talia was going to like. And I arrived back, and I went straight back into the rehearsals, and I was already late to singing, so then I immediately jumped back in, and I just did air sign language to Talia of being like, "You can eat this," and I'd had some, and then we found out an hour later that we did actually get a proper lunch break, and that I'd basically stressed myself out for no reason. And I don't know about anybody watching this, but when I go to Subway, I don't think about getting a salad. That's not necessarily what I'd go to Subway for. Subway is about sandwiches, so and a cold salad, it just wasn't it. But I was so focused on the fact that I wanted to make sure we had something to eat, because we didn't go with anything. And I wanted to make sure that we didn't skip out on the meal entirely, because I think in my head you skip breakfast as well, and I just wanted to make sure that sustenance. Yes, we had sustenance, we had food. And then when the lunch break came around, you basically were like, I don't want this. I'm going to go get food. And I was like, oh, that.
I actually never said I don't want this. I just said I'm going to get food. And you were like, oh, I've got food for you. And I was like, yeah, I just need to go get food. I didn't want to tell you I didn't want it, but I also.
But and in that moment, I didn't necessarily want it either, and I know you didn't want it, but again, there was just a lack of appreciation for I was trying to do a nice thing, and it all came from the right place. But in that it was also before I went to go get the food, I couldn't check with you because you were in the toilet, and we only had 10 minutes, and I knew how long this would take, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to make a judgment call, and I made the wrong one, and so. In that moment, then at the start of the lunch break, we had a bit of tension between us because we had unresolved frustration, kind of towards each other, but also towards ourselves. Because in that moment, you wanted to be able to have that food that I got for you, that I prepared for you, or that I'd not prepared, that I bought for you, but you didn't want it, and I wanted you to have that food, but I knew you didn't want it. But that didn't change the fact that it didn't come from a place of love,
of course,
and so that caused this momentary rift until we actually went out and we were able to just talk about just basically talk about that exactly. And that I acknowledge the fact I know you don't want this, and I'm not saying that you have to eat this. I want to get you food that you're actually going to want, because you forced yourself to eat most of it.
I did. You love it, yeah. It was awful.
Yeah, I know. I could tell you didn't like it, and that you forced yourself through it. And frankly, you didn't need to do that, because I would have just eaten it. And I don't get me wrong, I didn't love it, but I didn't think it was awful.
No.
I made sure everything that went into it was fine. To be fair, I got the chipotle mayo, and I didn't know that you're so icky about mayo in salads. I didn't know that, so that's.
I rarely even eat Caesar dressing. It's difficult in a sense of food is one thing that I have always struggled with, as you know. And it's actually, I had to write some things down there because I had 3 ideas pop into my head for what we should talk about, and they just flew away. I knew they were going to fly away if I didn't write them down. Yeah. So sorry if I was rude typing. I was listening. I just needed to get them out of my brain.
Rude.
But yeah, that's kind of brought up 3 different topics for me. Thank you for sharing that. And I am very sorry again about all of those circumstances.
It's I don't blame you for any of them.
No,
but they are the relationship, and I'm able to reflect on the part I played and also the part you played in all of those scenarios.
We're a team. There's 2 people in this all the time.
Yeah, that is,
my favorite thing about the second scenario, and both of them, we as a couple have become very good at admitting when we're wrong and apologizing, and I actually think it's something that neither of us actually struggle with anymore. There's sometimes times where you need a little bit of time to get to that place, and I think that's just human and so valid, because sometimes when you're so like blindly believing one thing, it's really difficult when you're full of emotion to back down immediately.
Like with the straw, like I was so frustrated about the fact that like there was no appreciation for what I'd done. I didn't immediately want to acknowledge. Yeah, no, I didn't clean your straw.
Yeah,
because that's not something
like it was visibly dusty.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like I felt icky about it.
Yeah.
It was like actually there was black
Yeah.
dust on it. Which, like, again, no, there was when I came to wash it, just saying.
Black
But
dust, okay.
yeah, it was black. What colour is dust? Black.
Okay.
What colour is dust?
Yes, dear. I would say grey.
Grey is black, isn't it?
No.
Grey is light black.
No, it's not.
You're a liar. Anyways.
I don't see
It's
colour.
light black or dark white.
Don't see colour.
Don't put that
Of
in.
dust.
Of dust. But yeah, no, that is one thing. But the second circumstance, it was nice that we actually, you said there was a rift. I wouldn't say it was a rift. We took the time to process and talk. Like, there wasn't a rift that was processing and talking time, but we immediately knew that, like, if we didn't leave and take this walk right now and get away from everybody and everything, because it's difficult as well when you're socializing and you're in those social situations. And I think that's another really good topic to talk about. So remind me to come back to that after the other three that I've got in my brain. But
this podcast is already written in your head.
It's completely written. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, okay. I'll see if I can keep up.
Take a back step. No, I'm joking. But
welcome to the RelationSHITS podcast with Talia.
With Talia, featuring Oscar sometimes.
Just in the corner, just like nice.
It's actually weird.
Nice
I've not been very switched on for the last two podcasts, but even though I'm so violently exhausted right now, I am
maybe
like
that's,
on.
Maybe that's why your brain's on fire.
I think it is because I'm so tired. Anyways. My favorite thing about that circumstance was that we knew what we needed in that moment was to take ourselves away and be with each other and deal with that there and then. Otherwise, it was going to fester, and then it gets worse, because when the hardest thing to do, especially when you're in a relationship, you're in a social situation that you can't necessarily escape in that moment, the most difficult thing to do is communicate through those times. And so you have to prioritize that, even if it makes things awkward, even if it means you need to step outside at a party and people think you're having an argument. It takes a lot to get over that pride of that feeling of like, oh, people think we're arguing. Like, I don't know if you ever felt that, but like, I've always had that feeling of like, especially when you're at a party or a social setting or something and you're having a discussion, and discussions come across like arguments sometimes. They really do. And like, I would never say we necessarily argue, but there are times where our discussions really do, like, we're both getting our point across before we hear each other, and that sounds like an argument, right? That's essentially what an argument is.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of
anxieties.
Have
arguments. We had heated discussions.
Heated discussions, yeah. And I had a lot of anxieties around the perception of that to other people, and that feeling of like people thinking that we weren't as strong in our relationship as we are, and all of that kind of stuff, just because they're seeing it out of context and that thing. And that's not helped by like when you are in social situations and people egg it on and they say stupid things like, oh, trouble in paradise and all that kind of stuff, and you're like, shut up. Like, it's not helpful. Do you know what I mean? And if you've ever said that to anyone, just like, it's fine, we'll move on from the past, but just maybe don't do it again. Because it's so unhelpful, and it's so inconsiderate to the fact that maybe you just have a certain communication style. Maybe you just need to communicate and then you get over it. People have emotions, people have anxieties. You're my person. If I'm anxious and then I go and enter into a situation where I'm talking to you, my anxieties are going to showcase themselves first and foremost, because that's the feeling that I'm feeling in that moment. And so I'm going to act a little bit differently to how I would like right now when we're just having a neutral conversation, no one's attacking anyone, And so that, for one thing, is an interesting thing to navigate in a relationship, and especially at the start of a relationship when you're so anxious of people, especially if it's around your friends or whatever, you're anxious of them thinking badly of your partner, and you don't want them to, or you don't want them to think they're wrong for you because they don't know you like I know you and whatever. Like, that's normal things and normal feelings to have, but it's a difficult thing to navigate and to find. But I feel like we found our flow of that, and I feel like that's why we just knew we needed to take that time. Well, I did. I don't know if you did, but I was like, we need to go on this walk, and you need to come with me, and we need to go together, and we need to just be by ourselves for a minute. Yeah. I was feeling overstimulated. I'm not great in social situations for long periods of time. You're better than me at that, and that's okay. But I needed that time to regulate myself anyway, and then that was just kind of an added thing that we needed to handle and speak through, and we both went in feeling great afterwards. Like it was a good positive
I do
outcome.
definitely think that you still hold quite a lot of value in like what other people think. And I think,
Yes, it's hard. It's hard to unlearn that.
Yeah.
It's so ingraining. It's the same with like beauty standards. Like you hold a lot of value on that, on physique and appearance. Like that's a big thing to you. Big thing to everyone. I'm not saying like you specifically, and I don't mean even about other people, I mean about yourself. But like your visual perception to other people, you care a lot about that. Which I always used to. I think I've always cared less about it than anyone in my family and yourself and everything like that. Like I think I've always cared a little bit less about how I look. I get anxious, but not necessarily about how I look, more about how I come across.
I don't know. I think when it comes to like how I look, my big focus is the focus is to be like not terrible. That's all.
Yeah, I'm
that's
not saying you want to look pristine all the time. I mean, you're aware of how you look all the time, and you're consciously like, oh, you know, do I look like this? Do I look like that? Whatever. Whereas for me, that's perception instead. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily how I physically look; it's how like socially I look. But it's ingraining. It is. It's like a thing that is really hard to unlearn and to get out of. And just one more point on that whole like having a discussion around other people kind of thing is like I've always had this crippling fear of manipulating you. It's something that's come up so many times in our relationship. I think I mentioned it on
in the first
podcast. But
throwback.
I don't know, throwback. Roll the tape.
Jarvis clip that.
I was going to say that, but I thought you'd say it.
And I did.
You did say it.
You know me so well.
I do know you so well. But yeah, I just have this crippling fear of like manipulating you, even though I like obviously the fact that I'm scared of it means that I'm aware of it, means that it's never going to happen. But
I also won't let you manipulate me.
I know you wouldn't, and it's such a like I don't know how to describe it. It's such an irrational fear. But as we said in the first podcast, it comes from that outward perspective of people telling me that that's what I was doing. I was being gaslit into believing that that's what I was doing by just like being your friend. I don't know, like being in love with you. Like, sorry, you know.
You should be.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Why would you be?
I'm so sorry.
I forgive you.
Can't take it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that plays into that outward perception, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's made worse by the fact that our outward perception was initially really negative. And so it gives you that complex of like, oh, well, I don't want people to see like anything that they would mistake as a flaw or a crack in the relationship because they're just going to tear it apart.
Oh, yeah, this idea about like cracks in relationship. Nobody's perfect. Like we aren't like pieces of glass that are, you know, like shiny all the time. Like I can't even think. We're more like marble. Like we're designed to be cracked, or granite, or like I don't know. Like we are supposed. We're not supposed to be perfect.
No, exactly. You know? We're flawed.
Yeah, and there's beauty in imperfection.
There is.
And the whole like point of life is that you're trying to find somebody who is perfectly imperfect for you.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
like nobody is this idea of perfect people.
No.
You know, other than you, obviously.
Well. I was kind of listening to that with a pinch of salt because I'm like, obviously me. But like,
you're the only exception to that.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
I just try to keep up.
Yeah, you can try.
But there's overall this first like 20-25 minutes of the podcast. I want to talk about the theme of this overall podcast, which is the idea of conflict.
Yes.
That's the big focus for today's podcast.
Yeah.
Is conflict within relationships because it happens. You know,
disputes
within
disagreements, conflict resolution, everything.
Yes.
So on that note, it relates to your relationships of the week. And I think it's an interesting topic because it's something that we've experienced a lot throughout our relationship. I'd say more so I've struggled with, in a sense of it's something that you like present to me quite often, and it's very difficult. It's been very difficult to navigate in our relationship. You're a lot better at it now, but it still happens sometimes. I'm really
interested to see where this is going.
And it's something that has caused a lot of conflict in our relationship and probably will continue to cause conflict because it's around the expectations as well.
Okay.
And so it's about doing things for somebody versus for yourself. I mentioned this to you the other day, But you obviously saying, or like, I was worried that we weren't going to eat, so I went out and got you food, blah, blah, blah. Now, on the outside and to everybody, and factually, that is a really nice thing. You thought of me, you considered me, you were worried about me eating, so you went out and got me food. But that's something that you would do for someone like maybe that you don't know that well. You'd be like, oh, I'm worried about them. They've not eaten. I'll get them food, blah, blah, blah. And there's a point to that. That's like I'm trying to describe the next point. What I'm trying to say is, you know me, you know I struggle with food, you know I struggle with eating, you know I can't just eat something that's put in front of me just because it's been put in front of me. I have to like eat what I feel like eating in that moment. And so part of me feels like there's a layer of that you did for yourself for me. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but you're entirely wrong, because I didn't need to eat.
No. I'm not saying for yourself as in you needed to eat. I'm saying for yourself, for me, in a sense of you're thinking, oh, this would be a nice thing for me to do.
No.
And so it's like a self kind of thing. Maybe not that situation is an example, but I'm just saying, because then I expressed to you, like, actually, the way that you could have helped me most in that moment is just sent me a message and saying, hey, I'm popping out to get food. Like, what do you want? That would have been so much more considerate of me than what actually happened, which was still factually considerate of me. Like, I'm not disregarding that. I'm not saying that wasn't a really considerate thing to do.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it's about
the approach,
and it's about what's considerate to each person. If I was a person that loved surprises, yeah, hell yeah, all day long, bring me surprise food. That's great. I'm not like, I like control, especially over food.
I like fully.
That's just an example. I'm not saying, but that's something that's happened a lot in our relationship.
So I've like on the counter side of that, there have been several instances within our relationship where, like, you will actually just eat the first thing you see because you need to eat, and if there is no, and I was just. In that moment, I was so worried about the time crunch. That's all I was thinking about.
Yeah, and you didn't really think.
I just like
you didn't think she would like this. This will be like, you were just like, food, Subway. This is what I'm getting.
Yeah,
and the only consideration of me that went into it was like, oh, she won't like, tomatoes. Well, you did get tomatoes, but you know what I mean. She won't like sweet corn.
I specifically didn't get sweet corn.
I noticed that she won't like sweet corn, so I won't get that. That's and I respect that. And again, I'm not disregarding the appreciation that I have for that, and that the thought that went into it. Like, there's no denying that thought goes into things. What I'm trying to say is it's about what level of thought goes into it, depending on how well you know the person. And like, that was the kind of considerate thing that you could do for one of our friends, for example, because you'd be like, oh, I know they like chicken tikka, I'm pretty sure they don't like sweet corn, I'll go get them a nice thing. Like, again, I'm just using it as an example, but that's like a surface level consideration. Whereas because you know me to the extent that you know me, you know my struggle with food, all of this kind of stuff, you, in a normal scenario, would have come up to me. I know I was in the toilet, but you would have messaged me. You would have prioritized the communication over the getting the food, because you know that that's what I value more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I did.
Do you know what I mean?
It does
in a
make
normal
sense.
scenario.
It does.
In a normal scenario, and again, I'm just using that as an example because it happened recently.
It's a good example, I think, and you're absolutely right. But typically, if the thing about the scenario was the time crunch.
I know.
And so, as I say, I made a judgment call. Because,
which again, if you'd have messaged me, I would have told you, like, give it an hour. We're having lunch.
Yeah. But in that scenario, I decided
100% in your perspective of that.
I waited 2 minutes. I only had 8 minutes. So I literally I wasn't on my phone doing things. I ran to the Subway. I did the order, and then I had the Subway in my hands, and then I ran back. Like, I didn't spend time on my phone. I wasn't that wasn't a thought process.
No, and that's valid.
In that moment, all I was focusing on was the physical interaction over anything digital. The idea that I could have reached you through your smartphone, like through your phone, through Messenger, was literally anything. It wasn't actually even a mental consideration.
No.
It didn't cross my brain. Because we were in the physical. And that's actually something that I think you do a lot more heavily than I do, is digital communication. It's something that
you used to be awful at it when we first got together.
But like, even
not messaging. You've always been quite good at responding to message. Well, to me anyway, not to people, but me neither.
Wow, just out me to everyone who's ever messaged me.
I'm so sorry. You're really slow at responding to most people, and like, sometimes me, but not usually. But your communication style was really like off when we first, and you still have moments like these days where, like, again, another for example, when I come to pick
I feel
you
like
up.
I'm just on blast right now.
Well, you blasted me, so cuckoo. No, another example, baby.
Yeah.
I do all of this and more tenfold. Like,
Yeah,
I am the highest maintenance person to be with.
I know.
So you put me on blast afterwards. I'm
I
so
know,
ready
no,
for it.
I did anticipate it. We're talking about conflict, and so we're going to talk about things like that.
Yeah, it's going to feel personal. I'm so over all of this. Like, none of this I actually am holding on to.
I'm so glad you're not holding on to anything.
Yeah, of course.
Go on.
Yeah, in terms of communication style and messaging, like times where I come to pick you up, you know what I'm going to say anyway, because it's happened every time I come and pick you up.
I think the thing that I find crazy about, like,
is that we never learn.
Well, it's that, but like I think the main difference is the idea of patience.
Yes, I have no patience.
Yeah, and so like when Talia if she comes to pick me up from work, or when she picked me up when I was a student or whatever, she will pull up and she'll send me a message to say she's here. And so in that moment, I'm like, cool. I'm now going to like pick up my bag. I'm going to put it on my shoulders. I'm going to say goodbye to the room. I'm just going to just make sure that everything's okay.
He takes 3 minutes to come out.
Okay.
3 whole minutes.
And by that point, I would have received 92 phone calls.
Yes, because at no point does he even open my message to acknowledge that he's seen it.
Bomb's been dropped on me.
Because in fairness to me, there have been times where I have waited outside of uni for an hour and a half and you had walked home. Do you remember that time?
But that's because
you never opened the message. I did message you, and you never opened the message. And every other time previously where you haven't opened the message, you come out 5 minutes later and be like, what are you stressed about?
But when you do, when I don't immediately respond, it's because I would have responded 3 minutes prior or 5 minutes prior, and it's like, I know you're coming, and you know I know you're coming.
Yeah,
and like,
don't get me wrong, I was surprised at you that time.
And any time that like it's communicated, and I know you're coming to pick me up, I will be out as fast as I humanly can. I'm not like, Talia's outside, I'm going to make her wait.
No, I know you never do things intentionally. I just have bad patience. Yeah. It's genetic.
And I'm going to stay quiet about that.
Yeah, don't comment on that. But it is.
It's actually, I think that's one of the big things is that I'm a very, very, very patient person.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to wait for a lot of things, but one of the things that I really want, like this idea of like digital communication, is it's something that I've actually been wanting to talk to you about. Is like I feel like there's a lot of times where you prioritize digital communication over physical communication. So like even if I'm in a position where like I'm trying to communicate something with you, we could be even sometimes we're even halfway through a conversation and you're like, oh, sorry, I need to get this. And what comes up on your phone takes priority over whatever I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's called people pleasing.
Yeah, but like I feel like that's something that
it's caused a lot of conflict in our relationship.
Yeah.
You used to do it too, except so it kind of comes into this idea of like, is what you're saying is like, in my head I'm impatient, in your head you're really patient. And like how we perceive things differently, like in your head at that time, you know, you just had this time crunch and you were focused on one thing, blah, 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 whereas my focus was elsewhere. It's understanding that we have very different brains. We think about things very differently. And I think for you used to be on your phone a lot, playing games. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, why are you not listening to me? That's so not important. Like, what a waste of time. But for you, that was an important thing because you're unwinding and that's like what you do to relax and it's methodical to you and it's like enriching to your brain. Whereas for me, like scrolling, obviously, it was my equivalent to that, which I've improved on a lot ever since being very active on social media. I actually can't think of anything worse than just sitting and scrolling any more than I have to. But my weakness is responding to messages, and for me that's all anxiety based. I can't deal, because I know how bad I am at forgetting about responding to messages and putting off responding to messages. I can't deal with the anxiety of knowing that there's a message that needs to be responded to and I'm not responding to it. And you're right, sometimes I do prioritize it over our conversations, which is awful, and every time I do it I come back and I'm like, I'm sorry, that was rude. Or, you know, like I do acknowledge it. It doesn't mean I stop doing it.
It depends. It depends.
And that's still annoying.
It depends on what the conversation is for for what level of irritating I find
if we were in an argument, I wouldn't be on my phone. Like, that's a very different thing.
But there are lots of times where like I'm literally talking about something that I view to be a really, really like high value conversation. Whereas like I'm literally doing meal planning and I'm talking about it, and we're 2 days into a 5-day week, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah, and for me, I couldn't care less because it's food related.
Yes,
it's a common theme here.
It is. But like that's something that we've definitely like found in the past.
Yeah, massively. Massively. That actually segues me on to a second
interesting
topic that I wanted, which was food.
Okay.
In a relationship, I want to discuss briefly, very briefly, because we'll probably do an episode a little bit more in depth about disabilities, struggles, food, all of that kind of stuff. But just for a brief reference overview for everybody, when we first met, I had an eating disorder, basically. Let's say it how it is. I was underweight, and I always had been, and it has been a struggle that I'd always had. My condition does make me more prone to struggling with my weight and muscle mass. But I also
overcome great odds. You are now hench and swole.
I'm neither of those things, but I am a little bit chonk, and that is defying the odds. In a good way.
And we're working on the hench and swole thing.
Yeah, it's coming up. Incoming. That's going to take a lot longer than it took for me to put on weight, just so you know.
I'm aware.
Me too, sadly. But yeah, I was in a really bad place when we met, especially with my food. And it had just always been a massive struggle for me. And I'm sure I'll go into more depth about it in a different episode. But and this again plays into that idea of doing things for you versus for me, because I feel like throughout a lot of COVID, and you've said this before, you lived for me. Like your life purpose and goal and everything was me, looking after me, feeding me, making sure I was eating. And yes, obviously, I appreciate it more than anything in the world. Like, you saved my life in that sense. You've turned my life around in a health way. Weight-wise, like, I wouldn't be where I am without you, and it's a brilliant thing, and it's an achievement, and it's got to the place now where I no longer fear like going into hospital for a period of time or whatever, because I've got the weight to handle it now, whereas before that was a genuine concern, and various other things. But it did get to a point where I was so afraid of resentment from you, because there comes a point where like you should never live for somebody, right?
Yeah.
But there are times where it's a good coping mechanism. Like, if you need to distract yourself from something else, then living for somebody is a good way to do that. And it's okay, maybe not always a healthy way to spend your energy, but it's healthier than taking drugs, like alcohol, whatever, you know. It's a healthier coping mechanism than others.
It's actually, especially surrounding the topic of like conflict, like actually during that period where you do a lot of those things for the other person, there was very little conflict. Like, I didn't, like, we didn't argue about
yes,
things.
But not for good reason.
No, yeah, but this is what I was going to say, is that like you like, you're saying that you're worried about like resentment building. The whole point of having conflict is so that you can process and to communicate and deal with issues
and grow.
But like, the idea of resentment is that you do not process these emotions. You don't do anything with them.
Exactly.
And you just let them build until you either reach a point of no return or you have a bursting point.
Yes.
And a bursting point is where I used to always go.
Yes.
Where I wouldn't really express any concern or like upset for like a week, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you
would just have an outburst and be like, I live my whole life for you, you know, and that is so valid, like where you were coming from. I think, and I think it was so difficult because it played into that complex of I'm manipulating you, because it made me feel like you were doing that because I was making you do that, which I just was, like, in my opinion, I wasn't. Obviously, there were certain things that I needed support in, and that's a different thing. But like, not everything. And it got to a place where I was then like, it builds resentment on the other side as well, because I'm sat here thinking, what else can I do? Like, I'm literally like, I'm not asking for any of this. Like, why are you giving me things I'm not even asking for? And that's sort of the feeling that I had the other day when
Take
you
this steak away from me.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was
Yeah.
doing. I had that feeling I had the other day when you got me the food. I'm like, you're like, oh, but I did that for you, and I'm so considerate. You have not acknowledged the consideration. I'm like, but I didn't ask you to. Like, I'm at, especially now in our relationship, I'm at such a place where, like, if I need something, I ask you. If I need your help, I ask you for your help. If I need your support, I ask you for your support. And that's not to say, like, little things here or there aren't appreciated. Of course they are. Like, we both for each other do little things, and we're like, oh, I did that for you, you know, blah, 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 and it's appreciated and it's loved and it's acknowledged and whatever. But I think when we were in that place during COVID, like, you were like, everything I do is for you, everything I do. And I'm like, but I don't want you to.
Because I had nothing else.
I know. And it was an excuse, and you weren't ready to face that within yourself, and that's okay. Like,
it's just because the world shut down that I shut down with it. Because I was...
You're not alone in that, baby. I genuinely think a lot of people experienced a similar thing. And it's so valid. And the only reason I didn't is because you did that to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't live for you because you were living for me. There was no room for us to live for each other. The room was only for it to go one way. Because you're really, really good at putting your heart to things and, like, not taking no for an answer. And that's a brilliant thing about you. Like, you're so driven and motivated, and you achieve so much through that way. But it was just an interesting thought, in that sense of doing things for you versus for me, in disguise of you.
It's actually amazing to think how our, like, communication style has evolved. And when I say, like, communication style in terms of surrounding conflict, I was mentioned on the first or second podcast that one of the things we used to do was sit outside the car for an hour, like sit outside the house in the car for an hour or two, and we would actually just talk and process conflict together. And we've not done that in a very, very long time because we've gotten so good at naturally.
It's just like a day-to-day involvement now, isn't it?
When it crops up, we deal with it there and then. It doesn't build, and the reason that we had such hefty conversations for such long periods of time was because of a lack of processing. And that's something that we've evolved to be able to avoid, basically, which is why we have a much healthier relationship now than we did in the past. And don't get me wrong, I can guarantee in a few years' time, I can't guarantee anything. I'm going to take that back. Stricken that from the record. I am sure that in a few years' time that we will reflect on our communication style like now and think, wow, we're a little bit naive about thinking about X, Y, and Z. Because you always have room to grow and you always have room to improve. And
I think being aware of that, though, is like, just because you have room to grow doesn't mean you can't live life to the fullest right now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because things change doesn't mean things aren't happening now.
But just the idea of how our relationship has evolved to handle different styles of conflict is actually really interesting.
It is really interesting.
Because we've become far more in the moment people. And that's why
we have.
On Sunday was why we needed to leave in that moment. We needed to go and deal with it.
And deal with it in the
because
moment.
that's how we've become as a couple. Whereas if we ended up having to just push through for the next 3 hours, it probably would have ended up being a bigger explosion.
It probably would have ruined our day.
It probably would have ruined the day, but I don't think like when we got in the car or whatever that we would have immediately been able to process it.
No, because it's suppressed for so long.
And I think that's something that we would have struggled to deal with instantly. We would have taken us another few hours to unsuppress the emotion to positively been able to handle it. And I can not guarantee. I need to stop using that word. I'm sure that we would have been quite abrasive to each other.
Yes.
And that's something
petty.
And that's something that we would have been able to avoid.
That's something we both do struggle with, is pettiness.
Yeah, big time.
We always have pettiness and stubbornness.
Exactly.
But we are testament to the fact that you can overcome those things in a relationship and you can learn to cope with them. I think my biggest thing that I realise nowadays is something that you used to be really good at the start of our relationship, and I've kind of picked it up from you over time, is that like there's only room for one stubbornness and pettiness in every argument. And if one of us is not backing down, then the other person just has to, in order to disarm the situation, to get to a place where you can process and discuss it. And it always used to be you that backed down for whatever reason. A, you're more patient than me. B, you're better at that. conflict resolution than I was at the time, and C, you were living for me. So like that was your natural response, was just like, oh, okay, like.
Can I
you're
interject
right.
with like a quick anecdote?
Yeah.
When you're talking about conflict resolution, I actually agree that I've always been quite good at it. And when you had the call with the person from Arnold Clark about your car, I actually wanted to grab the phone and tell them all the ways in which they were doing conflict resolution wrong.
I know, me too.
Like I just wanted to say, with all due respect, like you're not doing your job very well. Like the way that you're supposed to handle this is X, Y, and
They
Z.
started the conversation with an unmatched level of hostility that I never matched at any point. Even when I called them a liar, I never matched that level of hostility.
Did I name them just then?
You said Arnold Clark.
Dun, dun, dun.
You're putting them on blast.
Whoopsie.
They're a massive corporation and they are trash.
No, it was a poor phone call, and it's not currently the best situation. But in that moment, and I'm not gonna say fantasized about that conversation, but like I didn't take it away from you because it was your thing in the moment.
Yeah,
and I wanted to.
And I think I handled it great.
I
did cry, but sometimes you have to.
Absolutely, it's a great way to let emotion go. But one of the things that I was thinking about was just grabbing the phone and being like, "Excuse me,
Sharon." I don't know what her name was.
Me neither. I was really trying to think about just a name which wasn't
a generic her name.
Listen, Karen. We need to. You've been doing all these things wrong, and if this is, I fantasized about all the ways that I could insult her, but in the most eloquent way possible. That's very polite. I think that's something I'm really good at. Is using a lovely use of the English language to make it sound like I'm saying something nice when I'm actually being a little bit horrible.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
This is so random, but it actually makes me think of something. I feel so dumb at the moment, and I don't know if it's because I'm exhausted or I'm stressed or both. I feel like my vocabulary is fully escaping me, and I know it's like I should read more and all that kind of stuff. Like maybe it's brain rot, maybe it's like Maybelline, I don't know, but I just like maybe it's all the bleach in my hair. But I genuinely, every single conversation I've had with someone, I can't think of a word every time I'm having that conversation, and it's pissed me off because I used to be a linguist. Language. I used to be such a linguist.
Yeah.
Like I used to be so eloquent, and that was my thing. Like I started talking at 2 years old. I started reading at 2 years old.
But that's because of books.
It was because of books, and I know I need to read more, and I don't have time for it right now, and I need to make the time, and there's no excuse. Blah blah blah. Maybe when we go to Italy, I will make it my mission to read a book, a fictional book,
or maybe we'll put an
not a
audio book
non-fiction
anytime
book.
we're in the car.
No, audio is not the same thing.
But you say that, but you learn to speak because of
I know.
and her reading you books, and that's why you've all got so advanced.
I know, but I prefer. I mean, it's not the same thing in the sense of like I prefer reading a book. Like listening to it is the same as just listening to a podcast.
It is, but you don't do that either.
I don't. You're right. I just wanted to interject with that. It's been really annoying me at the moment, and your vocabulary has been getting better and better, and mine's getting worse. Well, it's because you read so many essays and stuff.
I was going to say a big part of my job as a university lecturer, like I read research papers and I read student work, and
not that many research papers, but you do read.
No, so. Like you're rolling your eyes at me, but like I have to check the references.
I know that's.
And when I'm checking the references, I've got to see is this relevant to what they're saying?
You're right. That was
and
nasty of me.
I will read a quick 400-word abstract that will outline a 28-page
I was
paper.
only rolling my eyes because I'm jealous. Okay, can I do your marking next week? So I could just. I'm joking.
Have fun.
Have fun.
I can give you some critical analysis papers if you like. Where you can read about narrative theory.
I think
ludology.
I think I just rebelled too hard. Do you know what I mean? You know when you go from being like ridiculous. I'm not laughing because I don't know what any of that means. But you know when you go from being ridiculously academic to rebelling against the entire academic system and actually like despising the ground that education walks on. Which is a journey that I went on. You then come out of the other side of it, kind of being like, well, where does that leave me now? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm sort of just in that little lost phase where I'm like, I'm losing my language. I'm turning into a little dum-dum. I don't love it. I want to reverse that.
Dum-dum, gum-gum.
Luckily, my frontal lobe isn't fully developed for another 6 months. So
you've got time. I've got time to fix it. My frontal lobe's done, but that's why I had to jump in.
But that's why it's great. You've fixed it. You did a good job.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you. have another topic.
Oh my goodness, already?
This is my third one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. This feels like an abrupt jump, but lay it on me.
Well, were you not finished talking about that topic?
Never, but like, go on.
Okay, it's an interesting one. I've been literally wanting to talk to you about it all week.
All week?
And I vaguely mentioned it to you the other day because I just had to spill the tea, but yeah, it's more in depth than that. So, Celebrity Big Brother. No, there's actually a reason for this. So, to give you like the very abridged rundown without all of the drama and the gossip and the tea that you can look into after this, Jojo Siwa went on Celebrity Big Brother.
I'm aware.
Yes. She developed a certain relationship with another member of the house, Chris Hughes, who was from Love Island. Did you watch that season of Love Island, by the way?
Nope, I've never heard of Chris Hughes in my life.
Fair enough. Anyways, when Jojo went into the house, she had a girlfriend.
Just so you know, I think the only season of Love Island I watched start to finish was the one with Molly May. That's the only one I've ever actually seen start to finish.
I was going to say it's not the same with Toph, but she's not from Love Island, is she?
Don't know who that is.
She's from Anyways Essex, I think. Anyways, very interesting. I didn't know that.
I think you've just always thought I'm a big Love Island person.
No. I knew you watched. I thought you watched 2 seasons. To be fair, that's the only reason. I don't know how long Love Island was out before we got together, so I don't know.
I think
Never
the
been
season
into
that I watched
reality
was like the 13th season or something.
Oh my god, has it been around that long?
I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out my ass.
I think you're wrong. Anyways, that's okay. But also, anyways, that's very impressive if you can do that. Anyways,
Jojo Siwa.
Yeah. So she had a girlfriend when she went into the house.
She did indeed.
And
she had one when she left the house as well.
For a day, and then she broke up with her.
Exactly.
But it was very obvious to everyone watching that she developed, or to the viewer's eye, everyone was theorizing that she developed these feelings for this person and blah 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 blah. Her and him have always sworn that it's platonic, and nothing has transpired since they've left the house. Right now, at least, you never know for the future. You never know what could happen. That can happen at any point in any relationship or friendship or whatever. But one thing I find really interesting is the stance of, she grew up on reality TV. She's obviously from Dance Moms. We love Dance Moms. We still are not up to date, but you have got to JoJo season, haven't you?
I have got to JoJo season.
Yes, we have seen a bit of JoJo. She grew up on reality TV. Before that, I'm almost positive she was on Toddlers and Tiaras. So, like, she literally has been a child. Or maybe not Toddlers and Tiaras. I can't remember.
Was she a child for her whole childhood?
She's been a child for her whole childhood.
Wow, you've heard it here first, folks.
I know.
Can you imagine being a child for your entire childhood?
It's crazy. But she's grown up on reality TV. She's been pushed like in. I'm not acknowledging it.
Why?
I'm not. It's not funny. I'm joking. You're funny.
Thank you.
You just make fun of me. I've got a spot voice on my lip. It's hurting me.
Leave it alone.
Anyways, throughout her whole childhood, she's been in the limelight. She's been on reality TV. She's been told what to do, etc., etc. So there's no denying she knows how to play these shows. She knows how to get airtime. She knows how to get the public vote. She knows how to create a stir, create a scene. That's what Big Brother is all about. Big Brother is about causing drama. Big Brother is about causing chaos. Big Brother is about...
Is that why you want to go on so bad?
Yes. Big Brother is about tea. But this was what I was getting to, is like, what's your stance on that? Like, if I went into the Big Brother house tomorrow...
Oh my goodness.
And
wow,
I
okay, that's not where I expected that question.
Right? I've just been so interested all week because I have applied for Big Brother in the past, and I did get some way in the application. I wasn't allowed to talk about it at the time, but I obviously wasn't successful, so I'm assuming I can talk about it now. And
wait, you didn't get into the season?
No.
Oh,
maybe next one.
I was waiting for you to be added into the house.
I know, maybe next one.
Oh.
The house is over, best friend. I'll be on Celebrity Big Brother soon, don't worry.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, I was going to say my dad would hate that, but he would, and we're going to move on. But anyways, I had applied for Big Brother, and it was, at one point, I thought it was a possibility that it could happen. And obviously, £100,000 is a lot of money to win for the both of us. In a sense of short-term pain, long-term gain kind of thing. But I just find it really interesting to think about the dynamic of you know, it would be easy enough for me on the inside to play a game, and I'm obviously not talking about like actually A, developing feelings for someone, or B, crossing any form of boundaries. Like I wouldn't, she was very touchy-feely. I'm a touchy person, but I would never be like that. She was like laying on him in bed and things like that. Like that's a line that I would never cross. But, you know, planting little things to like cause a bit of drama just because I know it would give me screen time, give me an opportunity to win. And she was in the final. She was like top 3. She could have won it, to be honest. You know, if that was something that we had discussed in advance, because we've also talked about like being on the circle, for example, and how we would flirt with other people in order to gain your way forward, you know, to play the game. It's a game, you know. But I think it's a very dangerous game, but it's a very very sleek, again, I can't think of the word and that's really annoying, but it's a very, very minimal distinction between playing a game and crossing a boundary. And so it's very important. Gray. It's very grey, and especially in the circumstance of the Big Brother house where you have no contact to the outside world, and you're missing your family, etc., etc. It feels almost impossible to have discussed every boundary before you enter the house, and therefore it feels almost impossible to go through that whole process without crossing a boundary, if that's the game you're playing. And so I want to ask you from a sense of an outside perspective, like if I was in the house and I was playing that sort of game, again, not crossing any boundaries in a sense of...
So this raises other questions for me.
It's not that I want to, I'm just curious about that whole situation.
So it's... I mean... For me personally, I actually don't immediately know where I sit on it. It's grey. It's not black and white. But it's one of those, you know, when married men or men in relationships go on stag do's, those kind of conversations, and when women go on hen do's as well, of, you know, can you go see strippers, and can you, you know, can you put money into a man's G-string, or, you know, or can you get a lap dance, or like whatever, like whatever that is. Where are you comfortable within your relationship for
that to go?
Yeah, because like, you know, if you go to a strip club, nothing will happen. Like that is the whole point. It's like going to see dancers, but that's
the context, and it's
a context,
connotations, it's the potential feelings, it's the
and it's that last one, that idea of potential feelings, which is always the most dangerous. And that's where that would be the line that I'd be most concerned about. Inside of my Big Brother,
I agree.
Because when, you know,
because of the climate that it is, it's the nature of it. You can easily get swept up in something that isn't what that isn't real necessarily.
So many people have like show romances.
It's
the same kind of thing.
100%. I agree.
You know, that's what everyone said we had, and you know, they're definitely true. You know,
you do get swept up. It was a lot more accelerated, I think, because of the show.
And so that would be my biggest concern. The truth is, I don't know exactly where I'd sit. There's a line, and I agree that it's causing a certain amount of controversy on those kind of shows is important. And
just to be in with a chance of winning.
Yeah, well, just to get...
I was going to say the boring people never win, but Jack Shepherd was very boring and he won. So
I don't know who Jack Shepherd is.
From Corey. I think it's Corey. Emmerdale, maybe.
But the idea that you want to get as much screen time as possible, and it's going to happen if you're louder, if you're bigger. Balls.
What's his name?
I can't remember.
Is it David?
Specific. I think it was David from Celebrity Big Brother last year.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
With Nikita.
See, that's what I'm saying. There's other ways to play the game as well.
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, I don't know if Jojo was playing. No one will ever know if she was playing a game or not. She hasn't said that she was playing a game, to be fair. Like, since she's been out of the house, she genuinely did say that they formed a connection, and that was it. Like, that was the element of it. A platonic connection, but that was it. But it just got me thinking, interestingly, about playing games and things like that. And it's so interesting you say about showmances, because that is what happens, isn't it? Like, we've had a couple of experiences where, you know, one of us is a leading role, the other one is not. Okay, when I've had a leading role, you have not.
Ouch.
I know, it's sore, but it's only in this...
Oh, it's just the fact that
it's only since we've been here.
It's specifically the fact that you stated...
well, because you laughed, and I just wanted to acknowledge why you laughed.
Oh, no, but it's... No, I just mean the fact that you didn't specify. Like, you said that one of us had a leading role, one of us didn't.
Yeah. Well, I was also more talking about when we first met. You technically had a bigger role than I did. I'm not like saying that roles matter, etc. That was not the point of the conversation.
Let's get to the point then.
Let's get to the point. The point is that in shows, people connect with different people, and showmances are very real, and show friendships are very real, and accelerated show friendships, and show friendships that sometimes border the line of showmance without obviously crossing it. And it's hard to navigate that industry in general, let alone in a relationship together, because and apart, there's two different dynamics. Navigating that together is difficult because inevitably people are going to gel with one person more than the other at times. And I say at times because we're very similar.
Friends as well.
It is, yeah. And I say that, like, you know, we're very similar. Like, for the most part, if someone likes you, they like me. Well, no, it usually goes the other way around. If they like me, they like you. If they like you, they might not like me because I'm a lot louder than you and I annoy people a lot more. And if they're a little bit more reserved, they prefer you to me, which is fine.
I think you are the kind of person who elicits a very strong emotion. That's something that you're yes. And so typically, if somebody likes you, they love you.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, you get much stronger reactions from people in general.
You're just so likable. Like, you're so charismatic.
That's very sweet of you.
And I feel like it's very difficult to not like you at all.
That's very sweet of you to say.
It's the truth. It's the truth. But yeah, so, you know, we
also
naturally...
just to say that you're also very likable.
Oh, thank you. You kind of said that.
You have a lot of energy. You put a lovely smile, and you exude a lovely energy that everybody wants to be around.
I appreciate it.
Except the people who don't.
Except the people who don't, and that's fine. I genuinely have no issue with rubbing people up the wrong way. I've been doing it my whole life, and I will never stop. It's always going to be me, and it's always something that I got
told in previous jobs that I was too happy. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I think that if I got given that, like,
oh my gosh, I have no hope.
You exude happiness on a whole other level to me.
And
it's something that we've spoken about, I think, on a previous podcast, is that I'm a very level person. And, and my emotions are very regulated. And so, don't get me wrong, I am quite a happy guy. You know,
you're quite a happy guy.
To see a smile, I'm so happy. But when it comes to you definitely have it on a grander scale. And so, that could also cause a more illicit reaction.
100%, and I expect that. And I never begrudge anyone for liking you more. If anything, it's actually a compliment. I love when people are in love with you. I love when people see the parts of you that I see and appreciate you for them, and are just obsessed with you, because I am too. I'm so proud of that. And it takes a long time to get to that place, especially when it's females that feel that way about you, which happens a lot. You we both naturally gravitate towards relationships with the opposite sex. You get along better with women. Not that we don't get along with people of the same sex, but I never really had female friends growing up. I struggled a lot I went to a girls' school, so I struggled a lot with girls because I didn't have any friends at school. And so I just naturally, I say didn't have any. I always had Tori, but got to shout her out because I know she watches these. But I didn't have many friends at school, and I struggled with bullying, etc. And so I'd never really been very good at forming female friendships.
Shout out Tori, we love Tori.
Shout out to Tori.
Sorry, just
and
a very,
others. There was a couple of
very
other friends.
delayed reaction from me.
Yes, there was also a couple of other friends through school. Phoebe, for example, and other people that got me through. But regardless of all of that, this isn't a shout out to all of my friends. I just
lagged into a whole other dimension.
You did. I know you're tired. It's hitting you, isn't it, darling? We're almost there, baby.
That was such a funny moment.
We're almost there. They're like, woo, Tori.
Talking about Tori. Oh, yeah. Tori.
Yay!
Go Tori!
I like her!
Me.
But naturally, I always gravitate towards relationships with men. I always feel like I have a lot more in common with them. I'm on a lot more of a level of banter and stuff like that. I just find them easier to talk to because it's so surface level, and it's not that deep, and it never is that deep, and it never gets that deep, and it's just chilled. But you do run into issues where there's men who do that thing where they pretend that they're quite happy to be friends, and then they actually decide that they don't want to be your friend, or you know what I mean? Or they're like pretending to be your friend with hopes that something more is going to happen. And those situations are really annoying. And that happens with women as well. That's a thing. Like, it goes both ways. Both. Everybody does that, right? I would never do that, and that's really annoying, and I don't understand why people do it, but people do it, and it's really annoying, and it causes rifts in relationships because it's kind of like, on the one hand, this person's developed a friendship with this person. You know, one of us has developed a friendship with this person, and you think, well, I don't want to lose them as a friend because, like, I really enjoy our friendship. But they have taken it to another level, or they are desiring to take it to another level and creating this rift of, like, inappropriate boundary crossing and stuff like that.
That's what boundaries are so important.
So important.
And communication.
And trust.
Yes.
And not just like, oh, I trust my partner, he's not going to cheat on me. It's not trust like that. It's trust that you're going to handle it in the way that is right for both of us. And we've had a situation in the past where I didn't trust that you were going to handle it in the situation in the way that was right. Not because I didn't trust you, and not because I didn't trust that you could/would do it. It's because we hadn't been in a situation like that before. So I didn't have evidence that you were going to respond in the way that I almost needed you to respond for my own level of comfort and safety. And so
you effectively took the situation out of my hands.
Yeah, I effectively
but I would hope me having done that, it earned a level of your trust
so much,
and
tenfold,
and so that in the future, because at the time I outwardly expressed the fact that I didn't like how it was being handled.
Yes,
and that at the
and
end
it was never like met on like deaf ears. It was also just like you couldn't also produce a different way to go from where it was at that point.
Every option that I was producing, you simply weren't happy with. It very much just came down to trust.
Yeah.
And that you couldn't see how it would work in any other way other than yours. And in that moment, it's something that you mentioned earlier about like in a situation, someone there's only room for one person to be stubborn.
Yeah.
And that was one of those.
Yeah.
But I think that was actually the start of you backing down.
Yes. It's just because it was such.
It was relatively early on in the relationship.
Yeah, it was really early, but it was such a.
Like 2 years in or whatever.
Yeah, it was such a strong boundary for me though. And I think it's because it had already been crossed. It's not that it was on the borderline of being crossed, it's that for me it had already been crossed and I was already like, I'm not backing down from this. This is make or break.
Yeah.
It was a really difficult time in our relationship. There was other factors as well that contributed to the stress that we were already under in the relationship, and there was just a lot of different
at the end of the day, I basically decided that you were worth anything more than anything else.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm so happy with how that situation happened. Now, not like so happy like I wouldn't change things about it. Of course I would, but I'm so happy in a sense of what we learned from it, what we took from it, has been more invaluable than the difficulty of the situation.
Yeah,
and I would go through that situation 100 more times to come out with the outcome that we've got, which is
maybe 10 will be enough.
Yeah, that's fine. But to come out with the outcome that we've got, which is that level of trust, that level of like mutual respect, and that level of like understanding each other's boundaries. And I think even after that situation, I still don't think that you fully understood how much like the boundary was crossed for me and how much it felt like how awful it felt, because it's clear to me, especially by the way that you just spoke about it just there, is that like you still hold that level of guilt in that situation. I'm not going to say resentment towards me because I hope that you're past that, but you still hold a level of guilt in a sense of how that situation was carried out.
No, so I don't hold guilt, not anymore. It's I still would have handled it differently.
Yeah,
even now I would.
You still don't think that it was right.
I wouldn't like.
I wouldn't say it was right either.
Given, you know, and as I say, everything worked out how it worked out, and it's absolutely fine. And it's to the point. If somebody came to me and like, would you want to go back and change it? I wouldn't, because I don't. Like, I'm happy with the final outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And like at the time, it caused a lot of anguish for me, and even moving forward, it caused quite a bit of anguish.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think it could have been resolved without having that. But again, it happened how it happened, and I fully understand the position it put you in.
Yeah.
And I understand the importance of doing it, and that's why I chose to do it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
But I even now, like I think I would still look to handle it slightly differently, so that the negative like backlash from me would have been smaller.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you've not had to deal with any of it afterwards. Like the negative side, really, it's fallen onto me.
No,
if that makes sense, it's.
I suppose in terms of inner feelings and like follow-ups, I suppose, yeah. But for me, that my equivalent of that situation was when we first met, and the turmoil of that, of being like the one that I was told that I was stepping over a boundary and all of this kind of stuff. Like that was a very similar situation in a very different way, in a very, very different way. I was almost on the other side of it. And I think that's where the difficulty was. I think we were still so early in our relationship, and being in a relationship that comes from falling in love, or building a friendship and a really close connection when you're in other relationships, you're always gonna, not always, it takes a long time for that fear to leave you, because it's scary.
Because it happened once.
It happened once, why wouldn't it happen again? Yeah. In the exact same context, in the exact same situation, why wouldn't it happen again?
And that's why I decided that you needed to be chosen.
Exactly. And like, I'm not saying I don't feel chosen. I really respect and appreciate that. But I think that's why it was such a non-negotiable for me, because it was almost like here's a choice, choose me or nothing. Like, choose me or that. Like, it was me or them. Like, that was basically how it felt. At the end of the day, and it's horrible that I put you in that position.
Because it was basically me having to lose a friend. And,
yes.
And that was that, and I would do it a million times over. I'd lose every single friend I have, doing it if it allowed me to keep you.
Yes.
But
unfortunately, it was a friend that perhaps didn't want to stay a friend forever.
And that I mean
that was what the issue was.
That made it.
You saying it exclusively like that makes it really sound like I'm just like, get rid of all your friends.
No,
like it wasn't an isolation tactic. It was purely like that was the situation. Unfortunately,
absolutely.
To you, they were a friend, and that's what it was at that point in time.
Yeah.
But I could see, and even you could see.
Yeah, that was all it was for me. And that's. But at that point in our relationship,
and I'd love to say that's all that matters.
Yeah, but at that point in our relationship, I was unbelievably lonely.
Yes, and that's 100%.
Very important.
I think that's why I related to the situation when we first met, because I was in that same place where I was just so lonely.
Yeah. It took a long time for me to not feel lonely in Glasgow.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard.
It's the move was such a positive thing overall for me as a person, and to grow, and I experienced so many amazing things in Glasgow. But for a very long time, I felt very isolated.
Mm-hmm.
And at the start of our relationships, I had a big focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
And even during all that time of me focusing on you, it kind of meant that we weren't a unit. We weren't a we.
No.
And for a long time, I very much just felt like it was me against the world. Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, I had you in my life. And I was grateful to have you in my life, but I didn't share any of the weight of the world. I felt like I had to do everything.
Yeah, I felt like you lost yourself so much.
Yeah, and I'd actually say it took me the better part of 3-4 years to re-establish myself as a functional human being who could experience, joy and make friends and not feel that like self-isolation. It was because I had so many people around me who would have opened me in, but you
just weren't ready for it.
I couldn't. And that was a big thing. And I suppose another like topic area that we can talk about is this idea of inner conflict when you're in a relationship.
Yes. I actually experienced a lot of inner conflict during that time as well, because for me, I felt so guilty that for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like that. And like what you experienced during COVID and during our first couple of years of living here and of our relationship was what I had been experiencing up until I met you. So I felt really guilty because I knew exactly how you felt, and no matter how many times I said I know how you feel, you kept saying you don't, and I respect that you felt that way, and I understand that you felt that way. because you didn't know me when I felt that way, and obviously it's always going to be different. Like I'm never saying, like,
So
no one can ever say I know exactly how you feel, because no one ever can, you know.
I'm sure you had a very similar experience. The biggest thing was the move,
Yes.
having no family,
And you had no family. Yes. And I'm not, it's not a competition. Like, I'm not going to say you had it worse than me, or I had it worse than you, or we equally had it as bad. But the inner turmoil that you experience, that self-isolation feeling, that living for somebody else, that was my life before I met you. Like, that was my whole life, and it had been for years. And you broke me free from that, and you saved me, and you turned me around, and you know, not entirely you, I did all the work, no offense, but you put in that support in order to allow me to. And I felt so guilty going through that transformation while you were going through this decline. But always, and I said it to you a couple of times, and I could tell that you weren't necessarily in the right stage of the journey to hear it, but I knew that you needed to go through that. And like, I kept feeling like, I know,
like, I know you still say that now.
I know.
I think this idea of people having to go through turmoil, I think I still don't agree. Like,
I just mean you would not be who you are right now if you didn't go through that. I'm not saying you had to go through it. I'm saying in order to become who you are right this very second, you did have to go through that.
I understand that, you know, everyone has a journey, and this was the journey I had to go on to become who I am today.
It didn't have to be as bad as it was. Don't get me wrong.
This idea of, you know, like, needing to go through something, I don't think I needed to. I think like, were there aspects of it that were beneficial for me? Sure. Yeah, like, I think I'm probably a nicer person.
I don't think anyone ever needs to go through turmoil, but I think what you learned from it and what you came out of it.
So what you said initially,
I still believe you needed to go. You didn't let me finish my sentence, to be fair, but you needed to go through that to become who you are now. If you didn't go through that, you'd still be great, but you wouldn't be who you are right now.
Yeah, I'd be a very different person.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm not saying you needed to go through that, full stop. If you didn't go through that, you'd still be great. We might still be together, we might not, who knows. But like, I know that's what's led you to this point. I think we would. I think in every lifetime I would choose you. But I know that in order for you to be who you are right now, you had to go through that, and you had to experience that. And as awful as it is, and it had to bring up all these conflicts, and it had to bring up all of these inner conflicts and outer conflicts and everything. I've said conflict so many times it sounds like cornflakes.
I think one of the big things about dealing with inner cornflakes when you're in a relationship is actually how that manifests itself within the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really tricky thing, because I think everyone manifests it differently. When somebody is dealing with like anxiety, or somebody's dealing with you know, jealousy, or you know, like insecurities, that's really the word that I was looking for. There's so many ways that it can manifest. It can manifest with you actually being maybe not very nice to your partner, a little bit aggressive,
defensive, and
like blamey, and effectively
just searching for a reason,
ignoring the role that you play in that, you know, in that,
and minimizing your involvement
big time. And that's definitely something that I think everyone goes through when they're going through that kind of ordeal, should we say. But yeah, that was just a general topic that I just wanted to basically round off on before we go to a more slightly light-hearted end of the podcast. Is the idea of how you process it, because I've always been I'm using my dad as an example. He's the strong silent type, or I've always viewed him as a strong silent type. I never knew what was going on, and so I'm the same. Because that was the example that I was raised on. I'm very lucky to have had my dad.
You also have such elements of your mum, though.
I do, but
you're so brilliant at expressing. You just choose not to.
Yeah, but it's like when things get hard, you put your head down and you just tough it out. And that's a man thing. It's a thing that men are taught to do. Is that like almost like our feelings don't matter. Like it's a big patriarchy thing that you don't have time for feelings because you need to be.
This is again about outward perception.
Yes, big time. But this is like society inbuilt, and it's there's a lot of patriarchal things that I am more than happy to throw away with the wind, and I don't follow. But then there are definitely like things here and there that are just so ingrained in me. Like this feeling to provide and support.
Yeah,
Like
you're such a provider.
it's such a
such a man.
It's I'm a manly man.
Yeah.
In the fact that I feel like I need to provide for you always and make sure you have everything you need. And like if you want to buy something, I never want to tell you no. I never want to tell you no. That's actually reminded me of another relationship.
McDonald's.
Surprise, mother trucker.
No, you can't bring that one up. We're not talking about a McDonald's that I got
on Tuesday. We were coming.
It
back.
was your idea.
It was my idea. We were coming back from rehearsal. And I was like, I'm a little bit hungry. I feel like I could do with a snack. And so I was like,
that's not what you said.
Wait. Let me continue. That is what I said.
No, you said, are you hungry?
Oh,
and I said, yeah.
And I said that I wanted a snack. And I said, is McDonald's? And I was like, no, we shouldn't. And you were like, oh, well, we can just get some fries. And I was like, I wouldn't want fries. I'd want a burger. And like, it's just too much. I don't.
You didn't say I want a burger. You said I want a Big Mac meal.
Oh, but okay. So I said, I want a Big Mac meal. I want some fries. I want a McFlurry. And I was like, no, I'm joking. Like, all I'd want is a burger. I did. I did.
Fine.
I did say that. Don't.
I'll back down. I never heard you say you were joking.
I said I was joking, and then at that point, Tab's like, I want a nugget meal. I was like, no, like we're just gonna go home. We're just gonna eat food at home. I love that. I said we're gonna end it on a positive note, and I've
just dragged it back down again.
It's a relationship alert.
Drag me through the dust. You said I was attacking you,
and yeah, and she was like, no, I really want, and I said, no, we're not going to do anything, and I actually can't even remember what you said, but I basically said, no, we're not doing this.
I said we're on holiday.
Yes, and like, and you literally disregarded the fact that I said, no, we're not doing this.
So
yeah, that's exactly what happened, and it was my fault for mentioning it in the first place. But I was hungry, and I was just trying to have a conversation.
No, you're a liar. You wanted McDonald's, and I got you what you wanted. You're welcome.
No, and so then we went to McDonald's, and we've spoken a lot about going on a trip to Italy next week. Next week we'll be in Italy, and we've mentioned the cars. We've got a lot of outgoings happening right now, and so I can't help but just think we should be saving a little bit of money, and so we still went to McDonald's, and I got myself a double cheeseburger, and then Talia got a 6 nugget meal with a milkshake. And
meals just come with a milkshake.
Yeah, they all come with a milkshake. And I just
for anyone who's just listening, I'm rolling my eyes so hard right now.
It'd been a long day, and one of the things that really frustrated me about that day was that I didn't get my 10,000 steps in. I hadn't even got to 3,000 steps that day. Despite the fact we'd gone to rehearsal, it was a very stationary rehearsal, and it's a big thing about me as a person, especially recently, is that I really need to be active in order to get my deep sleep, get my REM sleep. Like I require a certain amount of physical activity in a day. And exertion. And so we got back after the McDonald's, and once we finished eating the McDonald's, it was 11:20, and by that point, I'm not going out for a walk. I'm not doing it. It's too late. That is too late to go for a walk, because at that point I really need to be winding down in order to try and get the maximum amount of time. Even if I don't sleep maximally, I'm at least going to give myself the time that I need, which I'm really glad I did, considering what the following night's sleep was like.
It was trash.
It was terrible. But yeah, I just wanted to.
That's what I did. I've been saying about this car stuff, and it feels like bad karma, but I can't figure out what I did wrong. McDonald's, man, you ruined my life.
There it is.
Oh,
I felt like that should be the name of this episode. McDonald's, you ruined my life.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, so there it is. That's
Oh, well, I'm so glad we ended that on a positive.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our relationships for the week.
Let's talk RelationHIT.
RelationHIT.
We got it's a new phrase.
We've renamed it.
So we've got the RelationSHIT and the RelationHIT. So
the same thing but different.
What is your RelationHIT for the week?
Well, I feel like you should start, because you've been a negative Nancy the last 10 minutes.
Wow,
just
that's
joking.
So aggressive.
I'm just joking. Oh.
So dramatic.
I do have one, but
I'll go first.
Yeah, okay.
It's today, and actually, like the past 36 hours, we are severely sleep deprived. We really are. So it was. I got 4 hours and 57 minutes of sleep last night.
Can you guys tell that Oscar is like a sleep tracker, by the way?
I love sleep
you
tracking.
mentioned so much about very
all the
specific things about sleep. And if anyone doesn't track sleep, they're going to be like, what?
I love sleep tracking and, you know, understanding everything surrounding like life and fitness and health. You know, counting your nutrients and your macros.
I'm so glad I overspent on a watch that one birthday. I wasn't even going to get it for you because I knew that you were already going to be like, how much money have you spent? And I was like, another 300 quid? No bother.
I love that watch. It's the best present.
You've said it before.
I've said it a couple of times. It's the best birthday present you've ever given me.
Yeah.
You've given me some bangers. So, you know.
It's true.
That says something. Anyways, the relation hit is actually just how we've handled the last 36 hours, especially you with my car and everything yesterday. Like, that was a nightmare. That was a massive nightmare. And you held your composure so well until the phone call.
Until I crashed out. But that was like 6 p.m.
Oh, like, it was so valid, and I was expecting it so much sooner. And it allowed me to finish my work day. You know, I managed to still do all the things that I needed to do because you know, effectively
just held it together.
Yeah,
that's not a me thing, guys. I'm a very emotional gal.
Big time. I was expecting you to come into the office, and then just be like, I'm grumpy, and then just go and like verbal diarrhea at me until you then burst into tears, and then I need to console you, and then by that point I lose an hour of my life. I make it sound so clinical, but that's kind of the process.
That's what would have happened,
and that's just like that, and that's absolutely fine, and that's something that like I'm prepared for, and I was prepared for it, and it didn't happen, and I was like, what?
She's growing strong.
What's going on?
I think I was too tired, to be honest with you.
But yeah, that was.
I still didn't even think I'd process everything that's happened.
And like,
but I appreciate that.
And taking care of Coco, and like you've just been on it, girl. You've been on it.
I was thinking that. I've been so on it. You've been so good at pushing through.
So like this. But
I've been so good at making sure everything gets done.
So like this is the thing. My sleep deprivation's catching up with me big time. Like
I'm.
Again, for those of you who don't, you know, really know me, I'm quite meticulous as a person. Like, you should see my calendars. My calendar is immaculate, and
he's
somehow
very
type A.
Yeah.
I thought I was type B.
No, you're type C. Actually, you're a combination.
Oh.
There's some things that you're so scatty about.
I'm a wombo combo. What can I say?
A wombo combo. Yeah.
That's me being. I'm a wombat. That's what I was saying.
I see.
Because we're in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
I see.
So I'm Australian now.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm a wombat.
That's 100% the first thing I thought of when you said that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Carry on.
But yeah, I'm normally on. I'm very meticulous, and I'm off my game. I'm so off my game.
You're just
like,
tired.
I'm organising holidays, and I'm booking days that I don't even need off. I've got,
Don't tell them it's free holidays.
I'm not going to take days that I don't need. I got my managers to agree to stuff, and then I'm like, oh, actually,
take a bag. I got it warm.
Actually, I'm just tired.
Sorry, I stink.
So yeah.
Even today, I mean, there was a whole hassle. I had to get a subway, a train, a freaking walk, and then reverse it with a ferret in a crate all the way home after Coco's surgery this morning because Oscar swore he had a meeting from 2 till 5.
A really important meeting
that he couldn't miss. And I literally arrived at the subway and Oscar's like, whoops, that meeting's next week, so I totally could have taken you. Plus the hire car that we've signed on to had just got approved, and we had an hour free to use, which is all we would have needed if we'd have driven. But instead I wasted 3 hours of my life on trains and all of this public transport, in agony, because I'm very, very not physically abled in a lot of ways, and walking with a crate in my arms when he's wriggling around is one of those things that is really inconvenient to do. But I did it, and I'm very proud of myself, and I would do anything for those damn ferrets.
But this is what I'm saying. I'm so amazed and impressed by you, and I got all my work done today.
I did. I know, and I wanted to make sure I didn't overreact when you said it. I was like, do you know what? It's a thing. It happens. We're tired.
You forced me to buy the train ticket in advance, and if I hadn't, and you would do arriving, and you're like, I'm literally about to buy my train ticket, I would have said,
don't do it. I'll come. I
get you,
know.
like,
I didn't want you to. I was
yeah.
like, I'm doing this. Just take the time to do whatever you need to do to feel less stressed.
I took 30 minutes to play Marvel Rivals. I made myself some lunch, and then I just cracked on with my work.
I'm proud of you.
And I got it all done.
I'm very proud of you. Smashing it.
And it means that
even when you're tired, you smash it.
Yeah, I mean,
not at the same level, but you still smash it, and that's what.
But that was my relation hit.
That's good.
I'm sure I've had so many others. But in the sleep deprivation, I'm struggling to remember the last week. So,
yeah, it's been a long and exhausting week, and I fear it won't get better until we're in Italy. Like, this weekend's gonna be exhausting, and we're just gonna be tired forever, I think. But so is life.
We're getting a good night's sleep tonight.
I hope so. I still need to stream and do Coco and that, but
but I'm hoping to have a lie-in.
Yeah. Yes, actually, I'm free tomorrow. Oh my god, what a miracle! Anyways,
high five.
Oh my god, you've actually made my day by saying that. That sounds amazing. I hate getting up in the mornings. I'm quite happy to stay up till 4 a.m.
I'm thinking 9, maybe 9:30.
Oh my god, just don't. Threaten me with a good time. I'm salivating thinking about it. I've just got so much energy. Oh my god, I just want to stay up all night.
Is that the relation hit?
My relation hit is that I get to have a lay-in tomorrow.
Is it this moment?
It's this moment right now. No, I have so many to choose from this week because, much like you, I just think this week has just been such a beautiful testament of our relationship. And I think if this had happened like 3 months ago, all of this shit that has happened, we would have crumbled. We would have been at each other's throats, nitpicking, aggy, everything.
We've been building to be able to handle something like this for actually a very long time.
In so many ways. Like, financially, okay, I'm a little bit like worried. I'm not stressed. I'm just a little bit concerned. I'm just conscious, maybe financially conscious would be the way to put it.
Which we haven't had to be because we've been so
we've been so on it.
Where it's like we've had a lot of things just like
just because everything.
Oh, Coco surgery. Oh, my car accelerator cable. Oh, your car's died.
Yes, it's because everything happened at once.
And Italy,
which is a non-negotiable at this point.
Yeah, we've spent so much already.
Exactly, but that.
By God, we're gonna have a good time.
I know we're
gonna do it.
Bloody will. So through everything, like financially, there's reason for concern and stress. Like, exhaustion is always a terrible combination in any relationship, friendship, or otherwise, and that layered with the actual, like, our work has been really demanding at the moment, like genuinely demanding.
Yeah.
I know you've had it really demanding, but I also have had a lot of pressures and stresses and deadlines and a lot of things coming up that really require my attention. My colleague was off for a little while as well. So, like, the fear of, like, making sure I'm not missing things, we've got new projects starting, etc. There's so many reasons why this relationship should have been really awful this week, and we should have been really off our game. And if anything, I feel closer to you than I ever have. Like, I feel so
ever.
Wow. Clear. I feel closer than ever.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Stop it there. You're making it worse. It's not working.
I'll go for like Owen Wilson.
That's also not Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Wow.
Or no, Waluigi. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wilson, Waluigi, like
same thing. Super close.
The delirium.
And the delirium. But yeah, I actually just feel closer to you than ever. I feel like we've become such a team this week. Well, not become such a team. We've been a team this whole time, but we've proven our team work this week. And at every single point, you've expressed something. I've said, how can I help? How can I pick up some slack? And I've picked up that slack, and vice versa.
You really have.
And it's like really become like such a teamwork, even though I don't necessarily have room to pick up slack, and neither do you, but we've done it, and we've picked it up, and we've done it. And I'm so proud of us. And so there's so many things that I can pick out as a relation hit.
Like, literally the fact that it was 1:30 in the morning this morning, and we were like, we have no way of getting Coco to the vets tomorrow, and we're like, we're going to have to take him on the train, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, we can hire a van like we did when we moved to IKEA. And it was literally 1:30 in the morning. And I was just like, I just checked. Yeah, there's a van available. Hire. Yeah. Booked. Yeah. And you're like, right.
That helped so much.
And then I was like, cool, we're going to go to sleep and I'll sort it out in the morning. And I woke up at 7. I sorted out all the paperwork. I got on the subway, got the car, the van, drove here. Like,
so unconventional, by the way, driving a transit van to take a tiny little ferret to the vets.
Oh, it was the most cost effective and like
it
like,
was the best thing we could do at short notice.
It was the only, but like the fact that again, my non-functioning brain at 1:30 in the morning,
because I physically couldn't deal with it anymore. Like I could not deal with the thought of transport.
I could feel the stress, and you were like you weren't going to sleep because you were worried.
Yeah.
And it was I literally sat down on the bed. I was like, I'm just going to hire a van.
Yeah, just do it.
Screw it. What's going to happen? Not? And it worked.
It did. It worked out. Everything worked out great.
It was so funny though.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But yeah, there's so many things I can pick from this week. But I'm going to pick something a little bit unconventional. Something that you're definitely not expecting.
That was the relation hit.
No.
Okay.
That was a summary of what I could have picked as my relation hit.
Wow, goodness me. Okay.
Now
I feel bad for having done 3 relationships this week. So
it's okay. No, I just love you very much.
I love you too.
And I know you love me too.
I really do.
I've been really difficult this week because of my exhaustion and stress. And you've had moments as well. And I also attacked you earlier on, so do not worry.
Yeah, you know what?
We're very even, my darling.
Yeah.
Don't even worry. I'm not even thinking about it.
That's true.
But for me, it is your understanding of my love language and your love of my brain and all of this kind of stuff. Because when we first got together, I remember listening to music with you and being like, oh, I really love these words. And you were always just like, oh, it's just a song. Like, it's just music. Like, you just like music for music. And you like melodies and you like how it sounds and whatever, but you don't really care about the words. And I know that you still don't necessarily care about the words. Some songs you've become a lot soppier with. But Oscar came downstairs to me today and just played me a song. And the words were really beautiful. And it was a song about being each other's best friend. And we always like... We call each other babe and, you know, Bobs and all this kind of stuff, but more than
Bobs, you know, that very well known thing that people
call each other's. But, you know, we call each other pet names, but our most resounding name that we call each other is best friend. Like every single time I see you, I'm like, best friend, what do you think about this? Best friend, I love you, best friend. Like that's always and we say it like that as well. You can't say best friend. That's just cringe.
Ugh, disgusting.
Yuck. You're my best friend.
What is up, my best friend?
Disgusting. Take it back.
What's up, best friend?
What's up, best friend? Love you.
Love you.
But that's our resounding name for each other.
We've always said no matter what happens in our relationship, we'll be best friends above everything.
Best friends first, yes.
So like if I'm messing up our relationship right now, come talk to your best friend about, like, if your boyfriend is messing up the relationship, come talk to your best friend about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I think really helped to build our communication.
It did.
Like
we started as best friends.
I don't know if we did it for very long, but I feel like there was a time where we went and said, listen, I need you as my best friend right now.
Yeah, can you be my friend right now? Yeah.
And it's like I know you're more than that, but in this moment, I just
be my best friend.
Just be my best friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
I'll switch everything else off that I would feel.
Yep.
And I will just
make it a thing. Yeah.
I will just care about you and your like just you.
Yeah.
It's all about you in this moment.
Yeah.
And right now I do not matter. And that focus and love, then naturally it just brought us closer.
Which makes things easier, doesn't it? But that's my relation hit this week. It was a really nice song and it was a lovely moment. And I just, especially because I know that you don't necessarily listen to words and songs. So anytime you play me a song, it's usually a country song. That one wasn't, but anytime you play me a song,
horror,
and you're like, oh, this song made me think of you. Obviously, I naturally listen to words because that's what I do, and it just melts my heart a little bit because I just know that is.
I'm just going to name the song. It's called "Best Friend" by ADMT.
Oh, very
That's the name of the artist.
So random. ADMT. Did it just come up on your Spotify recommended?
No, it came up on Instagram.
Oh. You love scrolling Instagram.
I do love a good little Instagram scroll.
You do, but it just meant so much to me, and I just appreciated it. And it's like it's very much my like love language, and it just spoke to my heart, and it's something that I probably means more to me than like you thought that it would in the moment. But I just love it, and we just listened to it, and we just had a little dance and a little boogie and a little cry about how much we love each other, and it was just lovely. So that's my relation hit this week.
The crying was from me.
And me. Well, you started crying before me, though. You made me cry because you were crying.
Yeah. Just a little one. But
just a little cry.
Yeah, I just really care about you.
I really care about you too.
But
yeah, that's my hit.
It's just it's been so much.
It's been so much.
It's just been non-stop. and it's how we've handled it as
as best friends and a team.
We've done great.
We have. I'm proud of us.
Me
High
too.
five, Basin. I love you. You're amazing. Just make sure you didn't cover your microphone.
No, I didn't cover it. Don't you worry. But I think that is us bang on time. Thank you so much for sitting with us today, sitting through some of those awkward moments where you could feel the tension. And us
It was a tough one, actually.
Us dealing with a little bit of conflict, and talking about the world of conflict.
Yeah.
Put them up. Yeah,
Put 'em up.
I hope that this has been a useful thing for you guys watching at home or listening.
I hope this opens some conversations for anybody who is in a relationship listening to this and maybe wants to discuss how they previously handled conflict, because one thing I want to end on is just how important it is to look back at previous conflicts and discuss what worked, what didn't work. And I know that makes a relationship sound like a business meeting, a strategy meeting, but sometimes that's what you need in order to move forward for the future. I
am ready to take the minutes.
Yes, you take the minutes. I'll just talk.
We've got AI for that now. It's
exactly. Fine. But I just think it's so important, and I think it's overlooked in relationships. I think a lot of people think, and for some couples it does work, that you do a one and done and you fight it out and then it's over and you never talk about it again, because maybe you never think about it again. We're not those type of people. We like to learn from experiences. We like to really suck everything we can out of a situation in terms of self-growth, self-development, interpersonal growth, interpersonal development, all that kind of stuff. And get what we can from it. And I think part of that is discussing previous conflicts, as we did today, that whole situation, and hearing the way that you discuss it and feeling like you still have some form of like regret or feeling surrounding that situation, and discussing that whole, like, that's so important to do, because it keeps you on the same page and it keeps you from those feelings of doubt of like, oh, has he let that go? Is he going to do that again? Do I still need to worry about that person, that thing, that situation, that this, that? It just eliminates doubt. It just puts you on the same page, undoubtedly. And for those of you who, are maybe thinking a little bit about how you deal with it all internally, or how you deal with self-conflict. Yes. The best thing is always to have a little chat with someone. Yeah. Just be honest. Yeah. Be real. If that's a partner, if it's a friend, if it's a family, if it's a total stranger. Sometimes talking to a total stranger is so helpful. So fun. In terms of perspective. I always love going to a party and I'm like, you've got a great vibe, and you know what? I'm never going to meet you ever again. So here's my trauma. I'm going to talk about something that's really tough to talk about, and we're going to deal with this right now. What do you think? And as a rule, at a party, people are like, hell yeah, let's rock and roll. Let's do this. And then they'll end it and they're like, wow, I should not have agreed to that. Wow, that was heavy. That was Jesus. Yeah. But no, that's thank you so much for joining us on the RelationSHITS podcast. Thank you. And I hope it's been beneficial. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And we'll see you next week, where we will hopefully be in a new location. Next week? Well, not next week. On the next one. On the next one. And we won't be sat on a mattress in our spare room. So be excited for that. Be very excited. Yeah. I don't know where we'll be. Maybe we try and record one in every city. We'll see what happens. And if you guys don't currently follow us on our socials, make sure you check out the Oz and Tallies Instagram. Yes. It is, as it sounds, at Oz and Tallies. Oz with an N, Tallies. Where we will be posting like vlog updates and just generalized updates. And you can also follow us on our personals, which is mine is Oscar Langley, and yours is Tilly Tally 166. So true. Where we'll probably be posting other personals, like personalized perspectives on things. You might be posting vlogs. I don't really post vlogs on my personal account. I just take a picture of something that I think is funny. And I'm like, I won't on my Instagram, but I will on my TikTok. Cool. I'll be doing a slay in my life. And shameless plug, at that crazy ferret lady on TikTok. It's actually at Talia Maisie, but if you type in that crazy ferret lady, it will come up with me, because I am in fact that crazy ferret lady. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today, guys, and we will see you next time. I love you, you little shits. Love you, you little shits. Your little shits. Goodbye. Goodbye.